Hey guys, today for war number 9, I have 9 fights with just Doom today, and Mr. F and House of X tagging along, and I actually lose my deathless streak later in this war, but it's not too bad. So yeah, we matched, DSVG, cool group. I'm friends with House of Pain over there, uh, cool guy. So it was fun to finally match him. I don't think I've ever matched him before, so yeah, that was fun. Um, and yeah. For my moment fight first, we just want to really focus on nullifying the regen and mostly just letting MD5 and 200% Mystic boost do most of the heavy lifting here. I'm going to go for two L3s. Due to all the Mystic dispersion, you're fairly safe to just go for L3s in this fight. And yeah, we do this while the Arc Overload buffs are still up, so we'll get a lot of power after our L3, and with the 200% Mystic, it'll combine to just give me a lot of power, which is really nice to just simplify this fight. And if you're wondering why I'm doing light ending combos, it's to give less frenzy charges, because every medium applies a frenzy charge. And if you do a light ending, it gives less frenzy charges, so we don't have to worry about Moment entering frenzy. So yeah, and at this point, the fight is basically over. Decent fight with Doom. One of the best options for sure. You know, UA helps a lot on a fight like this again when there's so many buffs. And yeah, fight's over. And then we have a Mysterio on Masochism. We have Mr. F's energy, so he's gonna get armor broken a lot. And yeah, we just want to go for an L3 into an L2, and the fight will be over. It's a pretty simple fight. Um, want to try and go for some reparries just to make sure I can get those armor breaks up. And yeah, really not much to this fight. It's Mysterio, and yeah, it's a pretty quick fight as well. We still have our Mystic Power Boost, and MD5 will be giving some extra power from those regens, which is nice. So yeah, just perfectly set up for a fight like this. And yeah, we're ready to go with our L3 now, and the fight is basically over already, which is nice. And yeah, we're gonna use this Mystic Power Boost to shorten our combo after this L3. And then we're going to pop this L2, and Mysterio will be melting, and yep, he's gone. And I throw this L1 into the air, so he can't do anything. And yeah, we won that fight. And now I have a 20-man thing on with Doom, and yeah, shout out to IP for this matchup. He was the first one to try out this matchup, and it works really, really well. So yeah, very safe matchup. I'm probably going to be doing this fight more oftenly now. The basic strat is to just abuse Mystic Dispersion, really. And yeah, you've got a quite easy fight with Doom, abusing Mystic Dispersion and making sure to pay attention to Strike Counter, because you really don't want Furies here with those poisons. You know, the Furies would boost the poisons, and if you start getting poisons on you, could maybe cause some issues. And yeah. But with Doom and Mystic Dispersion, you know, it's super easy to control MD. Like there, we got to our L3 before we ran out of charges. So, yeah. And we have a 200% wait, no, not a 200. We have a 150% Mystic on for this works. The game hasn't put in any 200% Mystics for quite some time. And yeah, we want to get back to an L2. Mystic Dispersion is going to get me there pretty shortly. And yeah. I probably should have just done a combo instead of that L1. But yeah, and then Mystic Dispersion gets me at L2. We timed it with UA so that would happen. And yep, now we're going to work on getting back to our L3. He's starting at 1 armor in this cycle and a lot of charges, so we're going to have a pretty easy time to get back to that L3. And yeah, bait this heavy, go into our L3, and the fight is over now. So yeah, a really safe fight. Would be pretty hard to die there with Doom. You'd have to make quite a few mistakes, so I think he's definitely the safest counter. And yeah, the fight's just over after this L3, of course. Really good counter. And yeah. Up next, I have a Mixmaster Mordo, which is a really easy fight with Doom and Mystic Dispersion again. Yeah, just pay attention to Mixmaster, and you should have a fairly easy time here. I end up blocking an L1 as my only mistake, so that gives me some degen damage, but it's not really an issue. So yeah, don't really know what else I can add here. I end up getting 2 Furies due to all the MD power and everything. I end up getting a second Fury. Normally, you tend to just get 1 Fury, but this time everything lined up to where I got a second Fury, which was quite nice. And yeah, this gives me the power gain, which means I am into my L3 pretty much immediately. And yeah, we do this, and his power gain buff is about to come back, which means I'm going to be able to nullify that and hopefully get his power gain on myself, which is going to give a lot of power. And yeah, we're going to be shooting back up to 3 bars really quickly. And yeah. Now we're just going to bait out a heavy and go in, and the fight is basically done now. So yeah, really good counter to this fight, of course. Super silly. And yeah, just one fight. We throw this L1 and then we go for an L2, and yep, just won the fight. It's really easy to use Doom for something like that. And yeah, next up we have a Spite Penny with Doom. I ended up playing this one quite poorly. Thankfully, I had Reed pre-fights and a White Magneto pre-fight, and yeah. If I didn't have Reed pre-fights, this probably would have gotten a lot sketchier, but I ended up eating 2 Penny Parker L2s, which are the main way Penny can actually deal damage to Doom, is that L2 with charges up. Thankfully, she never had enough charges to kill me, but that was pretty scary, you know? Thankfully, you can really easily keep control of these charges using Doom because you're doing all of these hits during passive stun, and every time she would try to auto block you, it removes them. So even if you eat that L2, you're not gonna die from it, which is nice. And doing the L1 will also remove some, and L2 will also remove some, so yeah. And I think right now is when I start getting the sketchiness. Maybe not right now. Nope, it's right now. And yeah, we do this. I'm just going to block it is my plan. But I just don't click block fast enough. And then they end up getting another L2 back from because of all the hits with this node. And yeah, I eat this and we take a good bit of burst damage. And yeah, we just throw our L3 to get out of the corner. And yeah, you can definitely recover from this fight at this point. We're gonna want to wait out that Fury buff from the L3, so we're not gonna throw any specials during it. I don't have a Mystic Boost on for this time, because I was running so low on them, I didn't want to waste one. And yeah. Our Fury buff ran off, thankfully she was fairly aggressive with throwing those. And thankfully we had the Reed pre-fights for that, of course. And yeah, we're getting there. Just gotta build to one more L3, or maybe if we get some crit RNG, we can end the fight before that even. And yeah. And we're at our L3 now, so we throw this off, and the fight is over. Decent fight, not my cleanest work, but since Doom is such a good counter, my mistakes there didn't really harm me all that much. And yeah. And here is my death. 43 Kingpin. And this death is part of the reason I fucking hate UA. I've hated UA since it was released. I talked about it in the video discussed in Season 32. But I really despise UA. It's just a horrible tactic in its execution. All of these stupid fucking interactions it has with the overlapping timers and champions' own unstoppables giving stun immune like on Gulk and Kingpin are just fucking stupid. And then the tactic itself just isn't that fun either. So yeah, I really despise UA. One of my least favorite tactics ever. Probably my single least favorite tactic ever. And I really don't want to have to deal with a whole nother season of UA. It's fucking dumb. Hopefully Kabam makes some changes to it, because fuck, I despise this tactic. Or just remove UA entirely, that would be nice as well. Because this tactic is fucking horrible. But yeah, on to this death. My mistake is coming here pretty quickly. I'm trying to avoid blocking many hits due to aspect of evolution. I want to try and avoid that because it would give some unnecessary power. And yeah, I'm looking for a place to where I can get into a good point for L3. I'm trying to time it with UA, so I don't have to worry about UA at all after the L3 cycle. And yeah, so after this, we should be good to go. And I throw my L3 during that unstoppable. Normally, this is a really good trick against Kingpin because it would give that extra MD power after your L3 and make your cycle go smoothly. But due to unstoppable armor, he's stun immune. I eat this L3 and I immediately die. The second I tapped that L3, I knew I was fucking dead. And I just felt so hopeless in that fight, man. God, this fucking sucks, dude. Such an easy fight as well. Like, that fight is extremely easy to do. Definitely the easiest fight I've died to in a long, long time, man. This really fucking sucks. It's a stupid interaction, and, not even mad at myself for this death. I just fucking hate UA. You know, just UA fucking sucks, dude. It's the worst tactic Kabam have ever fucking released. I despise this shit. And yeah, for this cleanup, I'm just not gonna throw a single special, because, yeah. Well, I'm gonna throw special ones, to try and prevent more aspect of evolution. Just no special threes. And yeah. But yeah, seriously, dude, I hate this fucking tactic. Man. And this tactic is such a good idea in theory. Like, it sounds good on paper. But in practice, it's just the worst fucking tactic ever, dude. Everything about the execution of this tactic is horrible. None of it has been done well. And it just sucks. Like, it's just fucking stupid. I really despise this tactic, man. And yeah, just finishing up this fight with combos, waiting out UA, playing it as safe as possible. Not letting this game do anything to me. I probably could have thrown the L3 there, but I'm just not throwing it right now. So yeah, gotta wait out this UA and... Man, really despise UA. Sorry for going on a bit of a rant here, but fuck, man, this is the worst. This season of UA has really taken away a lot of the fun of Alliance War for me. Both in planning and just my own fights, because the fights themselves are just not that interesting, and neither is the way it affects planning. So, yeah. Just really despise this tactic. Hopefully Kabam can make some good changes next season, or really not sure about my future with Alliance War, because shit like this just isn't a fun tactic. And yeah. I love Alliance War at its base, and I love playing with SSX, but fuck, when you have a tactic like UA, it just makes everything infinitely less fun. Like, even High Ground was better than this, and that's a really fucking low bar. High Ground was horrible. And yeah, just horrible tactic after horrible tactic takes away a lot of the fun of Alliance War for me. And we haven't had, significant map changes recently either. The Path 6 changes really haven't been that interesting, and neither have the hazard shift or window of opportunity or anything. The basic thing it does is just incentivize more nukes, which is kind of boring, and yeah. But yeah, back onto the sword. I have a 51 LS now. This is a fight with Doom. It's super easy with the Mystic Power Boost and PS1. So yeah, and MD5, of course. But yeah, we're backing out because the game was freezing up. But yeah, For ZLS, I've done this fight before, but just abuse Mystic Dispersion here is the basic strat, and keep him in an L3 cycle until he's at very low health to where the L2 itself will actually kill him. And yeah. So first up, I'm doing this combo. This is to get Mystic Dispersion power going and get me in this. And then we're about to be ready to go for our next combo. And then I get a big lag spike, and I throw a heavy. I was not trying to throw a heavy, I was trying to throw a light. It doesn't matter, thankfully. He wasn't at 5 of the bad karma or anything. So it couldn't have killed me. It's just really fucking annoying, man. So now that we're in the L3 cycle, we've pretty much won this fight. You know, after you get in the L3 cycle, there's not much danger to this fight. It's just continuing the L3 cycle, doing these shortened combos after your L3, trying to shorten those with the Mystic Power boosts and everything. And then just L3, 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 L3. And yeah. Really good counter to this fight. And yeah. Not much I can add to this fight. It's the same L3 cycle every time, pretty much. Sometimes your Furies get nullified. Doesn't really matter if they do, because your first Fury stuck, and then you're good, really. And yeah, another L3, and this will be my last L3 this fight. And then we're going to go into an L2, and the fight will just end. So yeah. Pretty chill long shot fight. Doom is definitely the best counter here. It's a pretty simple fight. And yeah. I only ever had the one Fury stick, which is pretty bad RNG, but it doesn't matter because the fight is done. And then for Mangog, this Mangog on 54, I've done this fight before. This one gets pretty sketchy, but the reason why it gets sketchy is why I love Doom for this fight so much, because he can just survive basically anything going wrong here. Really, really good counter, and yeah. So we want to just do some shortened combos to get that first L1 in, and then L3 cycle, and then after 3 L3s, you're going to pop your L2. And yeah. The start of the fight is generally the hardest part, getting into the cycle delay. Not necessarily hard, but it can be a little bit troublesome. There, we timed that perfectly, which is really nice. And yeah, this time I'm actually going for all 4 lights. Last time I did this, for some reason I only threw 3 lights, which made it a lot harder than it needed to be. And yeah, we're just waiting out UA, and it doesn't give an unstoppable, so we're going into our L3. And yeah, after this L3 cycle, we're going to do shortened combos for the first cycle, because in this first cycle, he doesn't get back to 3 bars from your combos. He'll be just under. So if you don't do a shortened combo, when you power drain, he'll be at 2 bars instead of at 1 bar, which is a pretty big difference. But here, it doesn't matter anyway, because he just decides to throw this into my block, which is rather annoying. But this is why I like Doom for this fight, again, because that UA, for one, gave me the Mystic Dispersion to make it a little bit easier to get back into this fight. And yeah, we're just waiting out UA here. And 2, he can actually survive that, which no one else can as far as I'm aware. I've never seen anyone except for Doom survive that L2. So yeah. We have 31% health left. Not ideal. The block damage is pretty huge here due to Aspect of Evolution. So yeah. We gotta get one L2 off, one more L3 off, and then we've gotta pop an L2, and we'll have the fight won. We wait out UA here again, and then just play patiently. I get my L3, and at this point, I've won the fight, thankfully. There's not much Mangog can do at this point, and yeah, we're gonna pop our L3 after this. I mean, our L2 after this, and we're gonna get the solo. Thankfully, just finishing this war out. Had that horrible Kingpin death, but I'm glad I could clutch it out on Mangog. As always, I struggle on my easy fights and then kill my normal fights. And then kill my hard fights, I mean. And yeah, for this war, my BG had 1 death and their BG had 2 deaths. So yeah, one death only was my death. Feels kind of bittersweet to have prevented us from getting that donut. But then we had 2 deaths as an ally overall, which is I think our best ever war, and they had 3 deaths, so we won the war. And yeah, just a great performance all around. Very happy with winning this war.